The park was quiet that evening, with the sun dipping low and casting a golden glow over the trees. On a worn-out bench, Emily sat clutching her backpack, her shoulders sagging beneath the weight of invisible burdens. She had lost her job weeks ago, and with no family to turn to, she had been drifting between shelters and cheap motels until her savings finally ran dry. Now she was facing the reality of having nowhere left to go. Her eyes burned from exhaustion, but she forced a weak smile whenever someone walked past. She didn't want pity, only a chance to start again. Just as despair threatened to swallow her whole, a small voice broke through. "Here," said a little girl holding a dandelion, her tiny hand reaching out. "This will make you smile." Emily looked up in surprise. The girl was about 5 years old, her bright eyes shining with innocence. For the first time in days, Emily's lips curved into a genuine smile. She took the flower carefully, as though it were the most precious gift in the world. "Thank you," Emily whispered. "That means a lot." Moments later, a tall man in an expensive suit hurried over, clearly worried. He knelt beside the child. "Leela, you can't just run off like that," he said gently, his voice carrying both relief and weariness. Then he turned to Emily. "I hope she wasn't bothering you." Emily shook her head quickly. "Not at all, she's lovely." The man's sharp features softened as he glanced at the flower in Emily's hand. For the first time in a long while, Daniel Carter, CEO of one of the city's biggest companies, felt something stir in his chest. Scene 2, a lonely proposal. As they talked, Daniel asked simple questions: where Emily lived, what she did. Emily hesitated, ashamed to admit the truth, but finally said quietly, "I don't really have a home right now. Things just fell apart." Daniel studied her carefully. Unlike others he often met, she didn't seem interested in who he was or what he had. Instead, there was a quiet dignity in her honesty, even as her voice trembled. Leela tugged at Emily's sleeve. "You're nice. Will you come play with me again?" Emily's throat tightened. No one had needed her in so long. She smiled weakly at the child, then looked away, blinking back tears. Daniel's heart ached as he watched. For years he had built empires, signed deals worth millions, yet every night he returned to a house that felt cold and empty. Since losing his wife in a tragic accident, he had devoted himself to raising Leela alone, but he knew she longed for something he couldn't give, a mother's love. He took a deep breath, surprising even himself with the words that came next. "You need a home," he said, his voice low but steady, "and I need a mother for my daughter. Maybe fate brought us together today." Emily froze, her eyes wide. What, you can't just, I know it sounds crazy." Daniel interrupted, "But sometimes life doesn't follow rules. My daughter chose you before I even had the chance. Maybe that means something." Emily was speechless. She didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or run away. Scene 3. A glimpse of family. Despite her shock, Emily accepted Daniel's invitation to visit their home. She told herself it was just for one evening, a warm meal before she figured out her next step. The moment she stepped inside the grand house, she was overwhelmed. Marble floors, elegant chandeliers, and walls lined with artwork surrounded her. But what caught her heart was not the wealth. It was the family photographs scattered throughout, each one showing Leela's radiant smile. At dinner, Emily helped serve the food. She laughed softly when Leela insisted she sit next to her, and even coaxed the little girl to eat her vegetables by pretending the broccoli was a miniature tree. Later, she read a bedtime story to Leela, her voice soft and comforting. The child snuggled close, drifting to sleep in her arms as though she had always belonged there. From the doorway, Daniel watched silently. Something in his chest tightened. It wasn't just gratitude he felt, it was hope. For the first time in years, laughter filled his home. Scene 4. Doubts and decisions. But when the house grew quiet that night, Emily sat alone by the window, wrestling with her thoughts. What if she wasn't enough? What if she couldn't fill the void left by Daniel's late wife? She was just a woman who had lost everything. How could she suddenly step into the life of a wealthy CEO and his daughter? Tears slipped down her cheeks. She was terrified of failing the little girl who had already stolen her heart. Daniel found her there, staring into the night. He didn't speak at first, just sat beside her. Then he said softly, "You're afraid, aren't you?" Emily nodded. "I'm not the kind of person you think I am. I don't have money or stability. I don't even have a home. How could I possibly?" She trailed off, her voice breaking. Daniel reached for her hand. "Emily, I've had wealth all my life. I've built towers, bought companies, signed contracts most people can only dream of. But none of that filled the emptiness inside this house. None of it gave my daughter the warmth she deserves. He looked into her eyes, his own voice trembling with honesty. Money builds houses, Emily, but only love makes them a home, and I've seen more love in you tonight than I've seen in years. Her breath caught. For the first time, she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she was enough. Scene 5. A new beginning. The next morning, Emily awoke to the sound of small footsteps. She opened her eyes to find Leela standing there with a shy smile. "Good morning, Mommy," the little girl whispered. Emily's heart nearly burst. Tears welled in her eyes as she pulled the child into her arms. She had been called many things in her life: employee, stranger, even failure, but never this. Daniel entered the room quietly, his gaze soft. "She sees something in you," he said, "something I can't ignore. So do I. This isn't about filling a role. It's about choosing each other. Will you stay?" Emily looked between father and daughter, her heart overflowing. For so long, she had been searching for a place to belong. And now, against all odds, she had found it. "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion, "I'll stay." Leela squealed with joy, hugging her tighter, while Daniel's eyes glistened with gratitude. From that day forward, the mansion was no longer a cold, empty place. It became a home filled with laughter, love, and second chances. Because sometimes, when two broken souls meet, they don't just heal, they build a family. Life has a way of bringing people together at the exact moment they need each other most. Emily thought she had lost everything, and Daniel believed his wealth could never fill the emptiness of his home. Yet through a single act of kindness from a little girl, their worlds collided and revealed what truly matters. It wasn't money, success, or status that built their new beginning. It was love, compassion, and the courage to believe in second chances. Emily found not just a roof over her head, but a family who needed her heart. Daniel found not just a partner for his daughter, but a woman who brought warmth back into their lives. And little Leela found what she had longed for most of all, a mother's embrace. The message is simple, yet universal. Sometimes the home we search for is not a place, but the people who choose us when we least expect it.